the celebration of life itself is an integral part of Telangana culture. You cannot imagine Telangana without Bathukamma festival. In order to understand this, you have to go a little deep into the land. A different kind of agriculture also evolved. In the depressions, they directed a bund and started storing the water. This started way back in 1200 AD itself, when Kakatiyas were ruling this region. And ever since tanks have developed and irrigation, dry crops are cultivated. Generally maize, pulses and jowar, such other crops are cultivated. It is these crops which normally they are harvested around this period. So Bathukamma is a harvest, distribute them with their friends and relatives. And Bathukamma revolves around this harvest season. Along with that, they also celebrate the water bodies. And that is what Bathukamma is. And in this festival, in particular the local flowers, as everyone has explained, they are used and local flowers are arranged in this conical shape, and then the celebration takes place for 7 days, and at the end of it comes Dasara itself, Vijayadashmi. People say the origins of this Bathukamma again are traced back to Kakatiya dynasty, which was in power during the 11th and 12th century AD. It was during that period, people say, one of the queens of that period, Rani Rudramadevi, fought against the enemies, and she was supported by a lady called Bathukamma, and in her honor, Bathukamma is celebrated. Whatever it is also revolving around war, because Deccan Plateau was a center for all the armies that went from south to north and from east to west, and it is around this kind of war situation that the Bathukamma festival also celebrated. On the Vijayadashmi day, they celebrate the weapons, and prior to that, in the honor of life, that Bathukamma itself is celebrated. This is the festival as its own talents. They sing and usually about their own problems, but they also sing about the local, Puranic tales and other such stories are also depicted in these songs. Today, there are two major threats to these festivals. The first major problem is the Hinduization of all the festivals. You see in Hyderabad, we have Durga Mandaps everywhere. This is not celebrated in this part of the region at all. Over here it is celebration of nature, celebration of crop celebration. Pattern revolves around major dams. Small irrigation systems are totally neglected, and as a consequence, over the last 30 years, many tanks have been destroyed. Now the second major dimension of this modern development is green revolution. As a result of the green revolution, all the traditional dry crops have been destroyed. Now you go to any part of Telangana, they will say, after the advent of Telugu Desam, all the dry crops have been destroyed. No longer these dry crops are cultivated. People either cultivate cotton or they go for paddy. These are the two major crops. Maize is the third crop. It is around these three crops that Telangana agriculture has evolved over the last 30 years. And these three crops have a different kind of economy altogether. You require water, so they go for bore wells, and as a consequence, moisture in the topsoil itself has been completely destroyed. Even now, very rich peasant class, farming class from the coastal region, because all the resources have been diverted in order to sustain the green revolution in the coastal districts, and as a which started investing in newspaper, which started investing in the film industry. So film industry celebrates this development pattern. It celebrates the big dams, it celebrates the green revolution, it celebrates everything that goes around with this development pattern. So you see the Telugu film from 1950s to 1990s, you can see how this class has evolved, how it fought against the zamindars. All the 50s films of 50s and 60s depicted it. And in the 70s you see the rise of rich peasants making lot of money, going to the urban areas, purchasing land in urban areas, investing in businesses in urban areas. In the 80s and 90s, they begin to acquire modern education and go abroad and also make money in the international circuits. So this is how it is celebrated. On the other hand, you see the emergence of the Telangana movement, which has two important dimensions. The Telangana movement has two important dimensions. On the one hand, it is a protest against the local landed class. On the other hand, it is also a protest against the dominant development paradigm. The protest against the local landlord class, it is in that process the local folk songs have been reinvented and they have been developed into some kind of a political campaign, instruments for political campaign. Because major media is not accessible to you. So in order to articulate the grievances, articulate the demands and to conscientize the people and mobilize them into politics, all these political cultural forms have been reinvented, discovered and improved upon in order to mobilize. And the second important, there is a lot of nostalgia. If you listen to these and translated versions of these songs carefully, there is nostalgia. They go back to the past and try to remember how beautiful Bathukamma used to be celebrated, how nice these villages were at one point of time. And there are a lot of songs which explain this. There are also songs which try to explain how, and the current crisis in the villages, how the water bodies, the destruction of water bodies called tanks have itself ruined the life in this part of the region. And invariably, Bathukamma is invoked in all those songs. They say, now there are no water bodies to immerse Bathukamma, there are no flowers to celebrate the festival, and they lament song after song, they maintain and establish their own identity. This is the very important theme in the song. So culture is a means through which everything is articulated and narrated in this part of the region, and Bathukamma is now reinvented. If it is being celebrated in EFL, there is a very important reason. All around this place, Bathukamma is now celebrated with vigor and with lot of interest, lot of enthusiasm. No, never in the past I remember, neither the print media nor the electronic media showed any interest in this festival. But at this point of time, media compete with each other, the channels compete with each other in order to show this and also in order to project this festival. So that is the kind of an interest, because there is an assertion and people try to celebrate this, and with the help of this festival they try to reinvent. Just ignoring this, let us also take a look at the kind of history that is behind this, the kind of political meaning that it also has, and the kind of, the way in which the festival is celebrated and how very often people try to Hinduize this festival. With these few words, I take leave. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.